Still getting warmed up. Some of you I hear referencing that I sound tired. I think that's actually the usual case whenever I begin a stream, and then usually after I have a granola bar or a few games in me, then the voice changes. A change of voice. Okay, so far so book. Open Sicilian, Najdorf, and with that, Black is saying maybe I'm gonna play d5. Do I have the option for this? I'm gonna give it a shot. It could get really crazy. Meaning, well, the thing that's saying that it could get really crazy, the variation I have in mind, is e5, knight f5, g6, and maybe like g5 as a counter to it. I know the difference between rook g1 and h4. It's something I touched on in a previous video that I had uploaded to the YouTube channel, one that I initially live streamed, and then after taking the recording and uploading it to YouTube, anyhow, it's something I took from Twitch and uploaded to the YouTube channel. Difference between rook g1 and h4, I believe that was, trying to recall the player's name, T Knight, if I'm not mistaken. Can anyone confirm that? Anybody recalling this game that I'm talking about, where I played rook g1 and then g5 was played, and I was just at a loss for finding a constructive plan on the king side. It just got closed, and then it got really wacky in a typical time scramble towards the end. Anyhow, oh man. Okay, well, I don't think I'm in a position to have things open up. Do I really want to take and this and this and this and hitting my rook? What are the alternatives? I can't push here. I'm in a pin. Let's try this. Kick that knight away. And I think I need support here, so I better go with it. I have my rook around to defend this pawn. What if bishop e7 is played? Usually a tame move, but it's coming with a pretty good threat. Where do I want my light square bishop? I might want to keep him around. Okay, well, I definitely want to keep him right here now. Queen up, queenside castle. Do I really think I'm going to go kingside? Queen up, queenside castle. If there's a square I really need to pay close attention to, it's d4. My bishop does well not to move. If there's this knight that's going to land on c4, I just want to take it out in one shot. So he's done. I'm done moving this guy. So what more can I be looking into? Well, here's another thing. Big decision right now, because if I don't take this knight, there might be knight a5, and one of these knights will be getting here. If I think I could prevent a knight from getting here by playing b3, I'm crazy. a3 available, bishop b4 available, pins. Bad stuff happens, all to team white. So, having said that, do I take this knight, or do I play to b3 to stop knight a5? It's a good question, and I don't know if I have an answer to it. Well, if I take here, that's going to open the b file. I don't want that to open up. I think if there's a file I could tolerate, it would be maybe this one. So that said, let's maneuver the knight here. I guess this could be played, but then I would have knight b5. So, and you know, another thing that would allow me to know that maybe this is the correct move is just knowing that I have a space advantage, and maybe keeping some pieces on the board is not a bad idea. For as long as this knight remains here, one thing I won't have to worry about is this queen seeing these c-file squares directly. So current position of the knight is just masking the queen. This bishop is having to make basically a clearance move just to get the rook involved. If I could control this knight, do I in some sense control the game, I wonder? Or control the queenside activity for black. I'd like to get pushing up here, but that's going to drop this pawn. If I played this, I think h5 is a good response, although then maybe there is g6. One thing I don't want to allow happen is after h5, g6 for me to make a silly move like king b1 and allow for g6, or in other words, I don't want this queen side to, or the king side, excuse me, I don't want that to close. So I'm looking at the different pawn pushes, different possibilities that exist with pawn pushes. Is rook g1 followed by this and then this a good idea? I don't know about that. Maybe this is a start. Pawn push here. Let's try that. This is this group of 4 pawns is called a court grip. Black has a similar thing going on. In fact, all 4 of these pawns for black and white are fighting for all 4 of these squares. A group of 4. I guess this is a purposeful move, king to b1. Maybe there's rook c1 moves should I need some more support for my c pawn. And okay, now black is going in that direction. Okay, well, wow. Okay, yeah, this is a bit tricky here. Let's come over here. If bishop pin, I think I need to like throw a question in that bishop real soon. Oh man, I'm running out of ideas in this position. We're about equal with time. Neither one of us has moved our king bishop. I'm not sure where I want to go with. If I'm going to move my bishop, it's just to make a move. This knight is going to kill me on c4 if it goes somewhere over here. Oh, well, I don't think I have much of a choice. He's got to go. Yeah, I can't deal with that. Knight here, I run into tricky tactics, I think. Alright, well, this is a bit scary. I am opposite that rook. We're going to probably see knight takes, bishop takes, and then the bishop playing to this square, hitting my rook. And I think rook f1 might be then needed, otherwise there's bishop moves to f3 with the fork on my rook and g4 pawn. So let's see if black could figure it out. Okay, well, I do best, I think, to just get out of the nonsense. And I think if there's nonsense, it would come by way of this pin. So get out of the pin, in other words. And there is possibilities for maybe a bishop to b6 move. Let's do this first. And, well, I think the bishop coming here is a bad idea now, because bishop b6 is a pretty annoying threat. Not just to win the exchange, because there's always a rook in between move, but I think I win the queen now by force. A queen for bishop and rook. So let's do this first. My rooks are connected. Rook takes, I just recapture, and now that d8 square is a big problem. Queen here. Actually, I'm winning. I'm winning a queen for a rook or a bishop. I think maybe like queen here is turns out to be the best move. Playing to c6, I actually get mate. So that turned out to be a tough spot right there. But I believe we did arrive at an equal middle game. Interesting. Let's see. Let's hit back. Flip that board and see about improvements for either one of us. I don't know. I think the d5 move is pretty interesting. I've seen it before. It really throws a question to my e4 pawn at a moment where this knight is still able to maintain itself on the f6 square. You know, because given the time, I'm going to be playing maybe rook g1, g5, and the knight has to run away, and I'll still have a pawn on e4, helping to control this particular pawn push by black. But that said, I think black is still doing quite all right. Now, one thing I wondered about is maybe bishop here. Because what do I do about that threat of just not only taking of the pawn, but just giving check? And then I'll have to go uncastled. So I think bishop e7, inserting this move, would, you know, you're getting one step closer to development. And I think it's going to force me to come back to f2. So maybe that's a small improvement. Another one to look into is maybe if you're going to go with knight b6, maybe try to get in b5. But again, I think still, with the moves that were played, I think this turns out to be fine for black. Like right here. Take the knight, and I think this is where there's a good improvement. Maybe just take the knight. And I was planning on just recapturing with the bishop, so let's say that was played. Knight takes, bishop c6, hits the rook, and then as a follow-up, a move like bishop to b4. And maybe later on, like queen to a5. I think your bishop is really well placed on c6, and you're fully developed. You have the rooks connected there. So I think going with that instead of tucking the bishop back on the first rank is going to be better, because now there's some serious threats, which eventually showed itself in the game. But again, earlier I think right here, instead of the knight move, look into bishop e7. You're one step closer to being fully developed once you are queenside castled. Anyhow, just throwing out some stuff there.